St. Francis de Sales, also known as the Gentleman Saint, teaches us that we all are called to holiness. This is the second of 4 videos where we'll continue to learn a little bit more about St. Francis de Sales. This video will teach you about Francis, the ordained missionary and writer.
Francis was so well prepared by his purity of life and by his theological studies that there was no need for the usual delay for him to become a priest. On the very day his father gave him his consent, Francis put on priestly clothing and 3 weeks later took on minor orders. He was able to go through the steps of minor orders, subdeacon, deacon, and ordination to the priesthood in just 6 months. This was a very short time frame in that era of the church for the process in becoming a priest.
Francis received his sacrament of holy orders at the age of 26 in 1593. A few days after his ordination, Francis had the joy of baptizing his youngest sister Jane, the last born of the family. The Bishop of Geneva was so impressed by Francis's character, he is reported to have made this prophetic utterance to those about him. This young man will be a great personage someday. He will become a pillar of the church and my successor in the see.
Father Francis was later appointed provost of the Cathedral Chapter of Geneva, one of the highest offices in the diocese. Father Francis' style of preaching was considered so simple that it charmed his listeners. Although he was a scholar, he avoided filling his sermons with Greek and Latin quotations and theological jargon. Father Francis held an apostolic zeal and devoted himself to preaching, hearings, confessions, ministering to the poor, and devoting himself to the needs of the humblest with special care.
Within 18 months of his ordination, Father Francis volunteered to go to one of the highly non-Catholic areas in the Swiss Alps called Chablis. Priests had been exiled there. He wanted to serve and reconvert the persecuted Catholics who had fallen sway to a type of Protestantism called Calvinism. With no money to support the mission from the bishop or his father, Father Francis and his cousin left for Chablis in September of 1594.
During the winter months, Father Francis faced very dangerous travel conditions trying to celebrate the Eucharist at the abandoned Catholic church in Chablis. One day, while returning from a trip, Father Francis was in the woods when he heard a pack of wolves howling after him. He had just enough time to climb a huge chestnut tree to save himself from the wolves. He tied himself to a branch with his sash so that he wouldn't fall. The next morning, farmers found him frozen. They untied him, took him down, and brought him to their home. There they were warmed up and cared for him. Thus they brought Father Francis back to life.
While in Chablis, Father Francis tried really hard to convert people to Catholicism. He found that no one would listen to him or even open their door to hear what he had to say. This continued for 3 long years, not one single convert. Eventually, his cousin left him because converting the people of Chablis seemed hopeless. Instead of giving up, Father Francis took to the pen. He found a way to get under the door. Father Francis made handwritten leaflets and posters with simple explanations of Catholic doctrines. He wrote down his sermons and would slip them under the doors of the villagers, trusting God to work on their hearts one sheet at a time.
These teachings were then posted and distributed all around, so that those who might be afraid to listen to Father Francis's message would be able to secretly read his leaflets. These teachings were later published in one volume called Controversies. This is the first record we have of religious pamphlets being used to communicate with people. That means he was the first to write homilies.
Thank you for joining me in learning about Father Francis de Sales. Until next time, always remember, do not lose courage in considering your own imperfections.